The Arts Council is heavily recognized for its monetary support given to orchestras and marching bands, but the council also supplies some funding for local music, which many Northern Irish bands are unaware of. Nick McCulley, vocalist for local Belfast band Paper Dogs, says that he has never received funding from the Arts Council, but does make use of the non-for-profit Oh Yeah Music Centre in Belfast. With recent arts funding cuts, however, the centre is struggling to provide long-term support without the help of the government. Paper Dogs is currently working on their second album, titled The Lost Art of Conversation, and is utilizing the Oh Yeah Centre for rehearsal space and recording equipment. Guitar player Chris Rooney says the centre is a great place to gig out. Stuart Bailey, chief executive of the Oh Yeah Centre, says that despite good intentions, the battle for more music in Belfast is ongoing. He quotes, "5 years ago, everybody was talking about music tourism and cultural tourism, and various people put money on the table to bring the MTV Europe Music Awards to Belfast, and it had a big international audience. And then everyone started to get excited about Game of Thrones, and so music's been left behind again. It's our job to knock on the door and go, we're always going to be doing music. We're still going to be here telling you that music is important." Although the Oh Yeah Centre is working hard to support musicians, Bailey says that there is always more work to be done to help fund music. He quotes, "I think it's a depressing battle. I think it's going to get harder before it gets easier. So I don't know what's really going to happen. It's not a very good prognosis." Like Paper Dogs, Belfast rock band Hit the B Button has never received funding from the Arts Council and is self-sustaining. He quotes, "We've made very little cash from being musicians," quotes vocalist Stuart Ledgerwood. "But every penny profit we have made from merchandise, selling our CDs, or that rare time we actually get paid for playing a show, all gets put into the Hit the B Button bank account. We continually put all that cash away until it pays our way into the studio so we can get a new album recorded." The Northern Ireland Arts Council has supported some bands, including Wood-Burning Savages and Empty Lungs. However, more funding is needed to continue the growth of the Arts Council's programs. Bailey, Paper Dogs, and Hit the B Button agree that funding to both the Arts Council and charity music centres would undoubtedly help advance Northern Ireland's music scene more quickly and sustainably.
Woo! The Merriment of the Clerk by Charles Kaiser. Chauncey and Bailey sit in the cellar. They are Clerk-ons and wear big poopy hats upon their heads and long bristly beards. Sergeant John McCullin enters, descends the cellar stairs, stage right. He has short, dark, bristly hair and a bushy goatee with flecks of gray in it. He is an angry, serious man who cares little for his neighbors.
Hey! What do you two think you're doing? Leave my liquor alone.
Did you hear what the human said? He thinks it's all for him.
What a foolish human indeed. He doesn't think he should share his bountiful treasure. How greedy.
It's mine. I can do what I want with it.
Oh really? You sure of that?
McCullin's body is almost completely immobilized.
Bastard! Let me go so I can kill you.
Alright. Well, how about this? If you complete a drinking match with us, we'll stop drinking and leave.
But if you fail at any point, we'll kill you and keep drinking your liquor until it's gone. Do you agree to this deal?
Fine, damn it.
Then repeat after me. I, John McCullin, agree to...
Hey, how do you know my name? Who sent you?
Just pull up the scroll, Baileys. Let's not waste time asking pointless questions when we could be drinking.
Fine, let me be done with this business.
McCullin signs the scroll.
Very nice. Now go grab us some more bottles to drink.
Bailey snaps his fingers once more and lets McCullin free. McCullin then wanders off to find more bottles for them to drink.
Oh, this will be great. The last time we had this much fun, we were drinking that O'Neill Fellows liquor.
Yeah, I remember that one. He was an Earl or something, wasn't he?
What are you asking me for? I only drank his liquor. I didn't get his name and his frank. He did make some good blood wine, though. So we're still gonna kill the greedy bastard, right?
Of course. He's an arsehole. He's evicting his neighbors. And we're running low on our bloodline. We're just doling out justice and all that.
Okay, just making sure of the plan.
All right, here, I got the bottles. Let's get this over with.
Let the drinking begin!
Hours pass, and everyone is quite drunk.
My neighbors be damned. They're all a bunch of arseholes. You want to take what's mine. They can't just get their own. What's the word?
Things?
Fine, yeah, sure. Why can't they get their own things? It's probably because they're all so weak. Glad the English are taking the land from the folk around here. Otherwise, I'd have to wet my blade to get some of these bottles.
Well, none of them can be strong warriors and take whatever they want now, can they?
But surprising they don't all get killed.
Well, why not protect them? How about your neighbors and all that? Might even get rewarded some way.
Screw that! I serve nobody but myself. Besides, those bastards are all pissed at me for joining the army. What's all the fuss about? So I kill some Irish folk. So what? A few peasants die and they get angry. The pay is good. That's all that matters.
All right. You made enough of a fool of yourself. Now sit down.
Well, the sun will be rising soon. You did pretty well for a human. But just one more thing we need to do before we leave.
Yeah, what's that?
Bailey smashes McCullen unconscious with a bottle and proceeds to slit his throat. Chauncey rolls over a large barrel.
Oh, nothing. Just gonna make some drink to go. You will agree with it. We made sure of that.
Together the creatures stuff McCullen's body into the barrel and fill it with wine.
Oh, I can't wait to taste this batch. One for takeaway and all of that.
Blackout, end of play.
Hello everyone, my name is Montez Jennings and I'm a graduating senior at the University of Baltimore. And as you know, I've been spending a month in Ireland. But this piece that I wrote is a direct response to the turmoil happening in America and what has been happening over the course of history in America. I wrote this while I was in a pub and I saw the news clip of an African-American man named Philando Castile. And what I noticed while I was there was that I was the only person of color, and more particularly, I was the only person that was intensely watching and what also felt like intensely cared. Now, aside from that, this piece is also a reflection of my culture and the parallels I see between my culture and Irish culture. And this piece is titled, "And When the Ice Cream Melted." Wednesday. LJ sits in the back seat of the car, grasping the ice cream cone tightly, causing small cracks in the cone. The strawberry ice cream numbing her hand. Her breath hitches in her throat. Her eyes shift. "Mommy," she calls out. Her mother shushes her. Her mother gulps. LJ saw her mother's eyes shift. Her mother takes a deep breath. "Relax," her mother chants to herself in a frantic yet whispered mantra. The officer taps the window. He's tall and broad, a big bald man with tattoos stopping at the top of his forearm. His face is red and sweaty. His sunglasses like two mirrors reflecting the sky. He spits onto the road. He taps the window a little more aggressively. LJ clenches the cone tighter. She tilts her head back and turns to the right, not directly facing the officer. She closes her eyes. Her mother rolls down the window. "Can I have your license and registration?" "Excuse me? I need to see your license." LJ's mother pauses. "Hold on, can I ask why?" The officer rubs his head. He sighs. "Ma'am, you were speeding in a residential area. I need to see your license." "Officer," she squints, trying to read the officer's name. "I haven't done anything. I'm trying to get my daughter home from practice." The officer looks into the window. He takes a breath. He taps his fist on the top of the car. He grinds his teeth. "Give me your license. I won't ask again. What are you doing around here anyway?" "I'm taking my daughter home, which you can clearly see in the back seat, in her baseball uniform." LJ swallows. By this time, the cone was crushed and the ice cream trickles between the small fingers and runs down her hand. "The kid isn't even in a car seat. She should be in a car seat." "Okay, what are we doing here? Why did you pull me over? I haven't done anything. If 1 mile over the speed limit is not a crime, the officer pushes his fist into the car. LJ's mother flinches slightly, but quickly gains her composure. Give me your license. I'm not going to ask again. You were going over the speed limit. Step out of the car. LJ raises her head slightly, grabbing what is left of the cone. A lump grows in her throat. A warm sting swells in her eyes. The cone and the napkin have merged into one. Her mother looks at her from the rearview mirror, her eyes shifting, with the small pool in the corner. Okay, you're scaring my daughter. I will give you my license, but I don't have to step out of the car. But I'll give you my license. And there it was. LJ's mother reaching for her license as the officer yells into the window. He's telling her to step out of the car while screaming about not reaching for her license. Silent tears fall from LJ. She wants the man to go away, but he wouldn't. Her mother fiddles for her wallet, when suddenly the black barrel was pointed directly at LJ's mother. The gun points directly at her chest. Her mother is frozen. The wallet drops. LJ holds her breath, and the running ice cream cone is stuck to her hand. The cone and the napkin have formed to the shape of her hand. LJ is looking at her mother, who is looking at her from the rearview mirror. Her mother tries to keep composure while looking at her. The officer is screaming to her mother to get out of the car. She reaches for her seatbelt. LJ watches as the plump finger hesitates, then squeezes the trigger. The brow of the officer furrows and his face reddens. His teeth clench. LJ watches as the bullet penetrates the window, shattering the glass. Blood splatters onto the window. LJ watches again as the second shot leaves the gun. There are 2 more crackling pops. 2 more shots are fired. LJ's eyes widen as speckles of red decorate the green number 9 of her baseball uniform. She opens her mouth. She gasps, but nothing comes. She tries to gasp, but nothing comes out. Her ears are ringing. She cannot hear anything except her mother's head softly hitting the headrest of the car. LJ drops the sticky mess onto the floor. She frantically takes a tiny finger, smearing blood into the fabric of the number 9. Her eyes growing wider and cloudier. The stain gets worse. The officer, too, has wide eyes. He grips the sides of his temple. He drops the gun. There are people emerging from behind the curtains of their homes. LJ looks down at her uniform and then makes eye contact with the officer. She unlocks her seatbelt. He opens his mouth. His eyes are wide. She opens the car door. Thank you.
For helping me out and assisting a clueless American to understand some Northern Irish culture. I was struck by the amount of strength women were capable of holding during Ireland's most tense era. From overcoming sexual abuse to struggling with a relationship with a man in the IRA, these women held their heads high and inspired peace and harmony within the Troubles. They are unsung heroes of that time. These ladies influenced me to create this piece and give a new perspective to a major part of Northern Irish history. I have decided to present today Richard and Bernadette O'Raw's story. Richard, a former IRA member, was locked away in prison during the blanket protests for 6 years. Bernadette, a self-proclaimed pacifist, decided to stand by his side and wait for her husband's return home. Therefore, I am proud to present to you an excerpt from my 3-part series, Warrior Woman, Ladies Within the Troubles. If I could just get these papers right. It was an average afternoon. Newlywed Bernadette O'Raw was going about her business as her husband, Richard, went to go look for a job. Or so she thought. You better go to your house. The Brits kicked your door in and they're raiding your apartment, a friend told her. What she came home to was pure calamity. Busted doors, broken pipes, and a flooded ceiling. They asked me where my husband was, and I had no idea, Bernadette said. I thought he was looking for a job, but then I discovered that he went to do a job. An oblivious and frightened Bernadette was informed that her beloved husband was a member of the Provisional Irish Republican Army and had committed an armed robbery. As a self-proclaimed pacifist, this was a tough pill for her to swallow. From the get-go, me and Bernie were an enigma. Usually, everyone stayed with their own, but we were totally different, Richard said. Bernadette was known to be a sticky, but it didn't matter to me because she was quite gorgeous. We broke the mold, and we fell in love. Bernadette's life was put on the line when she was accused of associating with stickies, a feuding sect of the IRA that her family, specifically her own brother, had close ties to. The provisionals were wary of her due to her family background, and threatened to shoot her under the assumption that she was conspiring against them. Richard ordered that she should not be shot. They went on to get married, and the honeymoon phase of their marriage faded fast. And as if this nightmare was not enough for her, things only went downhill from that point on. Richard was convicted and imprisoned for 6 years. Only married 6 months before his arrest, and expecting a baby, Bernadette was not ready for her life to be completely flipped around to compensate her husband's criminal lifestyle. What followed was 6 years of hell for her. Bernadette was only given 30 minutes with her husband every month. In those sparse meetings, she would give him a kiss hello, swapping cling-wrapped notes from her mouth to his. The IRA had used her as a messenger, and this was just one of the many risks she took for her husband and his association in the Provisional IRA. She witnessed her husband change into a grotesquerie, into something almost bestial in appearance. This was only a semblance of the man she had married. He had been transformed by his part in the blanket protests, which he had refused to wash and smeared his own shit on the cell walls. Although he did not participate in the hunger strikes, Bernadette could still see his life in prison taking a toll on him, warping him into a somber soldier, suffering defeat in the name of the Republican Army. Unlike many of the wives of other IRA prisoners, this was a lifestyle that was forced upon her. Most of these women knew what they were married into. I was totally blindsided by this. I had no idea about any of it, she said. But instead of leaving her husband and running away in fear, she decided to toughen up and wait for his return home. I love him. There was no denying that. I just didn't want to give up on him so early. When her husband was finally out of prison, he brought the IRA with him. Richard became the press officer of the Provisional IRA, which became a 16-hour-per-day job. Even when he was finally freed from incarceration, it seemed like he was never home. He became a prisoner to the IRA. By 1985, she finally put her foot down and told Richard to make a choice. Stay with the IRA or stay with her. Thank you.
And I'm also a student from the United States. I go to school in New Hampshire where I'm entering my final year and I study communications and multimedia journalism. I love researching, writing about conflict. I came to Armagh in the beginning of July and I traveled to Belfast to learn more about conflict surrounding the 12th. In doing so, I stumbled onto police brutality, protester violence, and the direct parallel between what was going on here in Ireland and what was also going on around the world as well as in the U.S. So I'm proud to present Going in Circles. However, during a time of crisis, social reform, and high tensions, sometimes those objectives get lost. Once aspiring to join the British Army, Jared Hodgson to shoot British soldiers.
Excitement of live performance.
The police are present to protect the community and instill peace within it. However, during a time of crisis, social reform, and high tensions, sometimes those objectives get lost. Once aspiring to join the British Army, Jared Hodgins grew up to join the IRA to shoot British soldiers. Hodgins went on to be a part of the prison protest, where he smeared excrement on the walls of his cell and starved himself. So how did a nice boy who wanted to be a British soldier turn into a rebel? He blames the police.
we didn't have police stations here, we had police barracks, you know, and it has that sort of thing, that psychological barrier. That's not for me. That's that building there to suppress me, not to help me.
Internationally known as the Northern Ireland conflict, the Troubles began in the late 60s. The civil rights movement campaigned for equality for the marginalized Catholic community and called for immediate change. During this time, the police force was known as the Royal Ulster Constabulary, or the RUC. The RUC was known for being an aggressive police force who was primarily made up of Protestants and was often viewed as a paramilitary armed force. With a complete breakdown of law and order, British soldiers were deployed to settle tensions and restore peace. However, the opposite occurred as some Catholics began to see the heavy hand of the British troops. Republican groups then began to push back with paramilitary attacks. This strengthened the already prominent divide between the Catholic and Protestant neighborhoods. Politics and police brutality ignited the spark for social reform. While many pledged themselves to the IRA to physically combat the British presence and campaign for a united Ireland, others sought change in a peaceful manner. Alban McGuinness was a member of the Legislative Assembly for North Belfast. In his early political career, he marched in banned civil rights parades which were attacked by the police and army. McGuinness says these bans were discriminatory, created alienation, and were a recipe for disaster.
Well, I think it was the Troubles, the outbreak of the Troubles. It was something that impacted on me, and as a result of that I felt obliged to involve myself politically, because I felt that was the best vehicle for political change here. A non-violent political party dedicated to building unity amongst people in this part of Ireland and throughout Ireland.
For 30 years, a community was torn, countless people were killed, and national identity was still the crux of the problem. There had been an internal, very rigorous reform of policing which extended to Catholics as well as to Protestants. Coinciding with that was a political change, which was the Good Friday Agreement. Today, Northern Ireland is a very different place. You still may censor what you say on a crowded bus, but all in all, you're safe to walk the streets without fear of entering a guerrilla war zone. Unfortunately, this is not the case globally. In the United States, we're seeing an almost weekly headline of a police officer shooting an unarmed person because of the color of their skin. We are reading articles about Omar Mateen opening fire in an Orlando nightclub just because of who his victims chose to lie next to at night. We're watching globally as Elise Sonbly enters a Munich mall and McDonald's and killed 9 people, 2 of whom were just 13 years old. Shootings are worldwide and occur for many different reasons, but there seems to be one common denominator: change. Fighting for change, fighting for social reform, fighting because my idea is better than yours. But why are you fighting at all? To move forward in the future, you must be informed in the past, or else you're at risk of repeating it. Hodgins says you must not lose sight of your goal.
If people fighting for social reform, be convinced in your argument of what you're doing and know what you're talking about. And always try to maintain it within the bounds of law. Once you step outside the law, you give your enemy the excuse that he wants to totally crush you.
Sorry, thank you.
A Game of Garen's by Karen Smith. Scene 1. Lights up. It is 1918. Night. The main room of the Garen house. There is a front door stage left and a rear door stage right. 2 suitcases sit by the rear door. There are 2 bedroom doors upstage. The only furniture is a table with 3 chairs and an old rocking chair near a wood stove. There is a newspaper on the table. James is sitting at the table eating dinner. His hand shakes every time he lifts his fork, dropping peas back onto his plate. His mother, Bernadette, is at the stove.
We're here for James Garen.
Oh, hello, Beef. How are you this evening? I'm afraid James isn't around at the moment. Can I help you with something?
Don't be cute. He and us have business and you know it.
Listen, I know he's caused trouble, but he's really not here right now. I haven't seen him since Tuesday last, I swear. Tell Mr. Donahue that we're getting his money. We're looking for James, and he's going to get his money.
You're a sweet old bird, Mrs. Garen. I know you'd be pretty crushed if something would happen to your boy.
I would, please. I'd be devastated. As soon as I see him, I'll tell him you were here, so he can settle this business and his conscience. I raised my boy right, you see, and he'll come to the light soon enough.
I have a few friends that can help him find
I
right.
swear on my own soul that I'll send him your way. Good night.
She shuts the door.
For Christ's sake, James, get out from over there.
Are they still outside? Bernadette pulls away the curtain on the window and peers into the garden.
The big one standing over by the gate. I think he's waiting for company. Finish your food and we'll go. Not to leave the dishes dirty.
I can't do it, Ma.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, boy, you'll be on the boat in the morning.
No, Ma, that's what I can't do. I can't do America.
You should have thought of that before you ran us into the ground. When your father taken his races in the first place.
What life is there for me? No friends? No money?
No sense.
Are you sure there's no one you know, no one you could write that I could stay with?
You didn't exactly leave me much time to find us arrangements. Especially not with me leaving town, too. Besides, how much brains does it take to operate an elevator or hold open the door at a hotel? Figure it out, boy. You got us in this mess and you'll get us out.
How am I going to figure it out? A stranger in a strange land? No one to give a helping hand? No community?
No community? No community? Christ, Fidelia says that they're packed to the Bronx, shoulder to shoulder.
And not one of them know my name or my face.
That's the blessed point. So you stop running from the bookies and make us a living. You'll make your way, James. You'll make your way that simply must be done.
But Ma!
No buts. This is where we are now. Fleeing our home in the dead of night.
I wish there was time.
James picks up the newspaper like it's a teddy bear from his childhood.
I'll miss this old rag.
Leaving home forever. And the newspaper's what I'll miss.
James flips to the obituaries.
Ma,
What?
have we any relation to a Jim Garen?
Are you on that? If I can't send you to America, I'll send you to the home. It makes no difference to me.
I'm not talking about myself. There's a Jim Garen in Clerk who's died. Champion hurler, only 24 years old.
Shame. Sounds like a young man who was full of potential.
Is there any relation?
I don't know. Probably, but so distance doesn't mean anything.
Champion hurler. Quite a man indeed.
I remember you picked up a hurley and nearly took out your front teeth.
Yeah, maybe that could work.
Boy, you're thinking again. That's my job.
I bet I could do it.
Do what?
Be him. Be Jim Garen.
You honorless putrid rat-breast cod! Did I raise you to be a liar?
Not a lie, Ma. I am a Jim Garen. People think I'm that one.
You're a worthless lump who would steal a dead man's name to impress some strangers!
Stop! It'd be a good thing. I got it all figured out. People might hear a familiar name and maybe they'll say, oh, are you that Jim Garen? Because they probably would have heard about him dying all the way over there. And maybe they'll give me a place to stay until I'm on my feet. Or give me a job, and then I'll be able to send you money.
For God's sake, James Brandon! Look at me! You lie and you cheat, so you made a liar and a cheater out of me. Driven us from the only home you've ever had. I hate it. I hate that you're like this. I hate that I can't change it. Do you think I want to stay with Aunt Marie? She's got cats! Just once, James. Can't you do right? Can't you make me proud just once?
Mother,
It's not just a dead James. Don't you understand this is the last time you're going to be in my kitchen? Don't you understand we may never see each other again? Here we are, leaving this house the only one who've ever lived in it. Me screaming and desperate, and you just carrying on like the world isn't coming down our heads.
Mother, Jesus, Ma, shit,
Language.
sorry.
Don't you ever do to anyone over there what you've done to me. You go over there and you be an honest man. You be a good man. If you do that, I swear I can forgive you
son of Dennis and Bernadette, and no one else. I'll work hard, I'll make my way, and one day I'll bring you to live with me, and I'll be the one taking care of you. This won't be the last time we see each other, I promise.
Phew. Little wit.
Open up. We know he's in there.
James and Bernadette grab their bags and head through the back door. Beef